Fiction often mimics the darkest corners of reality. In The Last of Us, a parasitic fungus turns humans into mindless, aggressive monsters. It's a terrifying concept, but it isn't entirely fiction. In the hidden, microscopic world of biology, free will is an illusion. There are entities that do not just kill their hosts, they rewrite their minds. Meet the genus Cordyceps. When a spore lands on an ant, it doesn't cause a quick death. It penetrates the cuticle, enters the body, and begins to consume the host from the inside out. But it leaves the vital organs intact. It needs the ant alive. As the infection takes over, the fungus releases a precise cocktail of chemicals into the ant's nervous system, hijacking its navigation. The zombie ant is compelled to leave its colony, climb to the very top of a plant, and lock its mandibles onto a leaf in a death grip. Only then does the fungus kill its host. A stalk erupts from the ant's head, raining infectious spores down onto the trails below, starting the cycle anew. But why this elaborate, macabre ritual? Why not just infect the ant inside its nest? Because ants are evolutionary, clean freaks. If an ant dies inside the colony, it is immediately detected and removed by the others. Since the fungus takes 2 days to release its spores, a death inside the nest means evolutionary failure. Natural selection favored a more sinister strategy, behavioral manipulation, and nature loves this strategy. This exact, terrifying mechanism evolved independently at least 4 distinct times in history. Different fungi creating identical zombies. Some even time this manipulation with the clock of the earth. At night, they force the ant to climb grass and wait to be eaten by grazing animals. During the day, the spell breaks, and the next night, the nightmare returns. As we move up the evolutionary ladder, the puppeteers become even more sophisticated. The single-celled protozoan Toxoplasma gondii faces an evolutionary roadblock. It can only reproduce sexually inside the intestines of a cat. But its intermediate hosts are mice. To get from a rat to a cat, the parasite relies on one brutal trigger: predation. Healthy mice have an innate, evolutionary terror of cats. They smell them, and they run. But Toxoplasma has a key to the fortress. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and forms silent cysts inside the mouse's brain. Crucially, these cysts do not scatter randomly. They cluster inside the amygdala, the nucleus accumbens, and the hypothalamus. The exact neural circuits responsible for fear, aversion, and motivation. In an infected mouse, the innate fear of felines completely vanishes. In fact, it mutates into a bizarre, fatal attraction to the smell of cat urine. The rodent becomes reckless, exploring open spaces, practically offering itself to its predator. This isn't a general brain damage. The mouse still fears other dangers. The effect is surgically specific. Toxoplasma actually carries genes that increase the local production of dopamine, rewiring the brain's reward system. The evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins called this the extended phenotype, the concept that a parasite's genes can manipulate and manifest through the behavior of another living being. Perhaps the most violent example of this in mammals is the rabies virus. Once it reaches the brain, the virus concentrates heavily in the limbic system, the emotional control center. It unleashes what clinicians call furious rabies. The animal becomes intensely aggressive. At the same time, the virus replicates massively in the salivary glands, turning saliva into a highly infectious bioweapon. The virus then triggers painful spasms in the throat, making swallowing impossible. Because drinking water triggers these agonizing throat spasms, the animal develops a terrifying aversion to it: hydrophobia. The saliva accumulates, the emotional inhibition drops. the host becomes an aggressive, biting machine, perfectly designed to inject the virus into the next victim. It is a flawless evolutionary transmission strategy. This brings us to the ultimate question. What about us? What about humans? It is estimated that between 30% and 50% of the entire human population is currently infected with Toxoplasma gondii. In most of us, it sleeps quietly in our brains as persistent cysts. But population studies have revealed a dark, statistical shadow. Infected humans show subtle but measurable traits: higher impulsivity, a greater involvement in traffic accidents, and a higher propensity for rule breaking. Even more unsettling, there is a strong statistical correlation between Toxoplasma infection and higher rates of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and But before you panic, look at the evolutionary logic. Our brains are vastly complex, full of redundant pathways. More importantly, there is no evolutionary benefit for Toxoplasma to turn us into cat food, because modern humans are no longer preyed upon by big cats. In us, these psychological shifts are likely just a biological byproduct, a ghost echo of a mechanism designed for rodents. Even human rabies, though terrifying, rarely leads to transmission through human bites. It is a dead end for the virus. In the end, we must separate a pathological brain injury from true, functional evolutionary manipulation. The first is common. The second, the true hijacking of a mind, is a rare masterpiece of natural selection. These parasites do not think. They do not have intent. They are simply the result of millions of years of evolution, favoring the entities that realize the easiest way to control a body is to rewrite its mind.